Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio, where truth equals reality, and truth is often stranger than fiction.
Hello everyone, welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, and joining me today is Lisa Barretta, and she's going to be talking about her newest book, Transformation, and we're going to probably talk about a few other things as well, but she wanted you people to know about that and give you kind of an idea of what she's got in there that, you're going to enjoy reading about, in other words. You can learn more about her at www.lisa-barretta_Lisa_DOT_com/home.html. And can you people give me just one quick second? I'm sorry, folks. I had a little slight thing happen there for a brief instant. I wanted to take care of it. At any rate, also for those of you that are listening at Shoutcast, or even if you're at the site, remind y'all the call-in numbers, 832-632-7904. If I don't get to you right away, just kind of hang in there. I'm probably looking for a break in the conversation rather than, interrupting the speaker to answer the phone, but sometimes I do end up interrupting the speaker or just answering and not saying anything till the speaker, has a break. But you go ahead and call in, and if I do answer and you hear noise in the background, just wait for a minute and I'll let you know when it's time to, go on the air live. Also, anybody that's listening at Shoutcast or YouTube or one of the other places where I got an archive, if you want to come and listen to the show live, it's www.paranormalpalace.com. Be glad to have you. The membership to the site's free. It gets you into the chat room and the links section and download section and forums and all of that good stuff. So, Lisa, how are you doing today?
Hi, how you doing? And thanks so much for having me on the show. I was looking forward to it.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, and I've been looking forward to this for quite some time myself. And I was glad that I was able to reach you today because I had kind of got the ball dropped on my end, so you were really a lifesaver to me today. But I wanted to, I haven't had a chance to read your book. Matter of fact, I haven't got it yet. So I'm going to kind of be feeling my way through this with you as we go. I wanted to, start off by breaking the ice, kind of telling everybody, how you got involved in this here particular book, for example.
Well, the thing that really spurred me on is, lately, I would say over the past few years, so many people have been concerned about December 21st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. Is there going to be some type of mass destruction? Is it the end of the world? And there's just so much controversy. You didn't know what to believe, and it was frightening to a lot of people. So I thought, well, we are changing, and it's a fact. Earth is not in the same exact place it was in even 100 years ago. We're moving throughout the Milky Way galaxy. Our sun is changing, as a lot of people probably already know. There were a lot of solar storms this past summer, and we think it's just playing havoc with, our satellite systems and our communications here on Earth. But on a larger scale, it's interacting with our own electromagnetic field. We all have that electromagnetic field around us, even though we can't see it, it's there. But I wrote the book is because as we shift into this new energy, we are becoming more aware that we are more than just a physical body, that we do have this energy body around us, which basically it's the driving force behind us. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be here. So I felt there was really a need to write a book. I wanted to make it simple. I didn't want to have a lot of esoteric mumbo-jumbo in there that was way over just the average reader's head. What it is, it's a handbook, it's a guide for anybody who's wondering, what's going on? Why do I feel different? Why is my intuition heightened? How come I'm dissatisfied with the job that I used to love or the relationship I was in? Everything's changing. The energy's changing. We're shifting. We're in the next phase of our evolution, going from Homo sapien, the logical man, to Homo sentient, the conscious man. We're living consciously. We're aware that we're more than just a body. We're a frequency. And how do you adapt? Nobody taught us this in high school. what's going on. The traditional news shows don't want to tell you about this, so you need some type of a guide, and I really wanted this book to help people understand just the changing energy around them.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I've had a lot of different speakers on my show that has spoke about 2012, and even they can't agree, to be honest with you. They all, one of them will tell you that it's going to be a pole shift and you can expect all kinds of calamity. Another one will come on and say, well, pole shift or no pole shift, we're going to have a consciousness raising, and who knows, maybe it's going to be a little bit of both, kind of like a potpourri, but yeah, I think that a lot of people are doing a lot of guesswork.
Well, I agree with you, and the thing is, you know, the Earth has actually had pole shifts before in the past, and there's no doubt about it. The magnetic north is changing. The North Star we have now was not always the North Star that the ancients recognized as their North Star. So the poles are shifting. Earth is always in a state of, you know, regenerating herself. As we could see, there's just been a recent rash of earthquakes. I think the most recent two within the past few days. One was in Costa Rica, another one in China. So, you know, Earth has gone through its own little transition also, and it's in response to this stronger energy coming in. It's, you know, disrupting things a little. But as with any birth, you have to go through that transition phase. So on a more personal level, our own electromagnetic field, our own personal environment is also shifting and changing. The poles are shifting. We're becoming more spiritual and less like organized religious. We're becoming more about energy instead of the material world. And we're starting to realize that, hey, you know, if you live consciously, the world is a much better place. Life gets easier, not harder. And, you know, at any time there can be a destruction. You don't have to wait for 2012. I had 2 children over in Japan during that 9-point whatever earthquake. So, you know, like I said, at any time things can change. But when you live consciously, you stay in the moment, you're aware, you get through these things, and you find out there's a reason for it. And I think the overall change in consciousness right now is for people to stop being so separate-minded, thinking of things as, you know, either good or bad, or this religion or that religion, or past and future. We need to just be in the now moment. There's a diversity, and it's okay to be diverse but not separate. And that's the whole raising of the consciousness coming in for 2012, a more unified consciousness, because that will change the vibration of the planet, and we really will be able to realize our full potential. We're all psychic. Even people who think that's nonsense or that's crazy, we're all psychic. It's just that now's the time that we're, you know, at that point in our evolution where we can start to experience it, because the time is right, the atmosphere is right, the energy is right, the portal's open, and if you want to walk through, that's fine. For those who choose not to ascend, you know, that's their choice, but, you know, everything's changing.
Right. And I know in the book of, I want to say it's either Joel or Amos in the Bible, it talks about an outpouring of spirit in those days, and some people have, you know, indicated that they thought when it said those days, it was referring to the time we're in now, in other words.
Well, I agree, because even in the Bible, when it says at the end of time, even the dead will rise from their graves. And I get asked that a lot when I do private consultations or people who have interviewed me about the shift. And the way I explain it is we're going to be able to sense energy. The veil between the dimensions, the third dimension we live in so comfortably, the fourth dimension, our dream state that we visit when we do turn our conscious minds off for a while, and the fifth dimension, that's the higher realm where we can really reach our full potential. Well, when we start to sense spirit and sense energy, we will be able to sense those who have passed. Not only those who have passed, we'll also be able to sense interdimensional beings. There are interdimensional beings, and this is newer territory for me. Other, let's say, alien civilizations, because from what I found out as I researched this book, they shift dimensionally. When you're in this higher consciousness, you can shift dimensionally. So we're going to be aware that, hey, there's the veil between the third, the fourth, and the fifth dimensions is open, and we can sense spirit now.
You know, you're the first person I've talked to, and I mean, I've talked to hundreds of people in my time, that has mentioned the fourth dimension as a dream state, most people view it as a, being a dimension of space and time. So can you tell us a little something about, the fourth dimension being a dream state and how you arrived at this conclusion?
Well, the way we realize time, in three-dimensional consciousness, we realize time is, hours, minutes, seconds, and that's, we're separating everything. Time is a wave. Time moves backward and forward. So anybody who has had a dream or a lucid dream, it's actually possible for them to visit what we call a past life or a prior incarnation, because time is a wave. That fourth state, in my book I call it the fourth dimension. The lower level of the fourth dimension is actually what I call the spam folder. All of your disconnected thoughts or things that maybe you didn't work out properly kind of stay in the lower level of the fourth, which is maybe where you have your nightmares or you have your dreams that aren't so pleasant. And then also in the fourth, there's the realm, the interdimensionals that you can come across in the higher dimensions of the fourth. And then the fifth is where you are a conscious, that's the conscious part of you where it can start to really reach its potential. Now, even if you want to take it further, I believe it was Carl Jung when he said something, when you are, I'm trying to make sure I get this quote right, it's like to really be awake, you have to live consciously. Like when in your dreams, like when you're fully awake, that's better than any dream that you would ever have. And a lot of times, and this is what we're finding out too, we are starting to shift. And when we do this, we're finding that we do a lot of work when we're asleep. Some people are having out of bodies, they don't even realize it. And it's a weird thing because time, we find out, is more like a wave when we're up there. It's not hours and minutes. Mm-hmm. And dreams, we've always been thought, well, that's where, we're working out our issues or, something that happened during the day. But if you start to really pay attention and you start to look for, there's a lot of things that'll come to us in symbols. It's how to interpret, and symbols are universal language. So in your dreams, if you see a lot of colors, look for what does the vibration of that color mean? What's really going on here?
Yeah, I've heard before that different colors had different meanings and they had different energies and that they had an effect on the chakra system. And I'm pretty sure this is partly tied into what you're talking about, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's an intelligent field of energy out there that we're a part of. The chakras, a lot of us, people who aren't real familiar with the chakras think that it's only for people who take yoga or the yogis who know about this. What they are our energy sensors on the physical body. Like your car has the energy sensors to tell you about the emissions. What they are, they're the energy sensors. So when we're somewhere, let's say, where we're not really enjoying ourselves, or there's maybe a potential situation that isn't right for us, pay attention to how you feel, because your root chakra, that's where you're grounded. Let's start with that. That's at the base of your spine. That's going to instinctively start to let you know if you feel comfortable there or not. And when you open up and you're aware, that's also the area where you pull in psychic smell. Now, if you ever watched an animal walk around, they smell their environment because they're in tune to it. We don't do that. We don't walk around and smell our environment. But when you're opened up psychically, that chakra is going to make you smell the energy. And people will be, well, how do you smell energy? What's energy smell like? Well, you're going to relate it to something in the three-dimensional world. If you're someplace that's good, you may smell flowers in the air, and there aren't any flowers, but it's telling you it's a nice place. If it's a bad place, you may smell something unpleasant and know that there's nothing there, but you're smelling the energy. And it's about being aware. And this is new for all of us. It's how does a baby learn something, a pot on the stove is hot? They don't know until they touch it and how they experience it. So this is opening a whole new world of experience for us. A
whole new world of learning for us. Okay. Well, one of the things I was going to mention is that I think you have some involvement with indigos. Are they playing a significant role in the end of times?
The indigos have been so misunderstood. There's always has been some indigos. They've been visiting us in and out throughout the time of the planet, but a large influx of the indigos came in the late 80s. And what they are, they're very energy sensitive. They don't like to be in large organized groups. The energy's too restrictive for them. So what they do is, they would act out. They're seen as very rebellious. And because a lot of people didn't understand them, they put them on Ritalin or they labeled them ADD, disruptive, and of course they're very sensitive. Everything about them is vibration, even down to the food they eat. The processed food did not sit well with the indigos. If anything, it just totally, I think, made them more out of control. So they took the hit for the evolution. You might say they were the prototype for where we're winding up, and they really did, get a bad rap. A lot of them see them as rebellious troublemakers. Then beyond them, we went into the crystal children, who are less verbal. They're more, they like technology. They also are very, very creative. That's one thing they have in common with the indigos, that they are, creaative. They're very sensitive. So this is where we're all headed. Even those of us who didn't come in the late 80s, and the baby boomers, you can still evolve. You don't have to be born at that time to evolve. We're evolving it because we're all waiting for some physical sign. What it is, it's more our electromagnetic field is changing, and we're experiencing our own personal little earthquakes and transition, and that's what you need to recognize, like how this is affecting you personally, so you stay on your right path.
Well, how would a person go about finding out for sure if they were an indigo or not?
I think that, if you, in my book, I list like how the characteristics of an indigo. So, like I said, don't get stuck on just if you're not born in the late 80s, you're not an indigo, because I also explained indigos have popped in, and a lot of baby boomers are indigos too. You are not really just the run-of-the-mill traditional type of person. You're open to new experiences. You're very, very energy sensitive. You do not really do well with, anything that's overly structured. You see through false beliefs. A lot of the indigos are, even if they come from families that are traditionally very, very organized religion, they have a tendency to be more spiritual and pulled away from like the traditional
religion.
Religions, yes. And it doesn't mean that they're atheists or anything like that, not at all. It's just they are more spiritual. They believe in a universal spirituality.
Could some of these indigos maybe start out as atheists and end up spiritual?
I think the indigos do question a lot of things. A lot of them don't even like the traditional 9-to-5 jobs because they'd rather be in something where they have control. You find a lot of entrepreneurs that are indigos. They were the ones, you'll see them at the sit-ins that are protesting what the banks did to a lot of people who lost their homes because of the mortgage fraud. They see through that. They're the ones that will walk around with signs and say, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. We're done with this. We don't want to, buy into these false beliefs. You're not going to scare us. They're very sensitive to prescription medication because their bodies just can't handle it. They've had a lot of bad reactions to the Ritalin and everything else they've been put on to, supposedly quiet them down. And you wonder, why do you want to quiet them? Who wants to quiet these indigos down? Who doesn't want them to have more control or have a say? Sometimes you wonder, is there some type of a hidden elite that knows that this ascension is really going to do away with a lot of the false structures and the things that have really been keeping us in an oppressive situation for far too long?
Right. Well, I got to tell you, that was really kind of freaky for me just now because I had sat there and asked you that question, and one of my listeners had said she got crashed out of the chat room on the site, but was listening to me, and she was, texting me a question in the Skype instead of in the chat room, and I asked you that question, and then I opened up because I saw she had said something to me, and lo and behold, it was the exact question I just asked you.
Oh, wow. Now, this is another thing that I love about this shift in energy. This is great. synchronicities will happen more frequently. Once you open up to this energy and you're like, okay, let's ride this new wave of time, which is an energy wave. It's not measured in hours, because as you can see, look how fast the day goes by. I mean, I can't believe here we are. It is September 8th. It seems like it was just 2 weeks ago that it was, the beginning of the summer. It's time. We're in fast time, because time is now being realized as a wave, not as the numbers on a clock. And
right.
when you get into this new wave, which is the precursor to fully opening up to your true, spiritual self, synchronicities happen more, right place, right time. You're looking for information. Someone either offers it to you, or, you just meet someone who can tell you about it. It's really amazing. It's a lot of fun. And the more open you are to it, the more it happens, which is great. It's great.
Okay. Well, I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty unique. I was like, wow, did that really just happen? But at any rate, there's another listener in the chat room. Her name's Maggie, and she was asking if places like Sedona, Arizona, Machu Picchu, and even Mount Shasta, are they earth chakras?
Yes, and know what? I love that question, because in Chapter 8 of my book, I go into how they are like the Earth has its energy centers too, where its energy fields, where the Earth has its chakra centers. And a lot of these places have been considered sacred sites for years and years and years, because they are known to be these high energy vortexes, where people who go there sometimes even experience a dimensional shift. They feel different. They feel better. The energy's different. You can realize it.
Okay. Also, the other lady that was asking her questions in Skype had one for you. She said she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Now that she's truly ill, okay, the way she's wording this is, it may sound like it's missing pieces here, but
okay.
Truly ill, or am I spiritually connected to where the average person may see me out of line to the point of it? I think she's trying to ask if she's truly ill with this personality disorder, or is she probably more spiritually connected?
She's definitely spiritually connected. There's been a lot of discussion about this. I've talked about this on other shows, and I'm glad she asked this, because what happens as you start to open up spiritually, you start to become very energy sensitive. You don't like to be around large groups anymore, not only until you get settled. It doesn't mean you're going to be like this forever. But as you go through this shift, if you're with people who aren't at the same level of frequency that you're shifting into, they'll think that you have some type of a disorder or a condition. A lot of people, when they start to open up psychically and start to hear clairvoyantly or smell energy or even taste energy, you can taste energy, a doctor will think, well, they're crazy, and let's give them some medication, or they have a disorder. What happens? We start to separate. We start to tag people, and we don't want to go there. We're not tagging anybody. This is a natural state of opening up. Of course, I'm sure a percentage of the population that maybe legitimately does have some type of mental or neurological disorder, and that's different, and there's other indicators that go along with that. But if you find you're suddenly starting to shift, things seem different, I don't think she has a borderline personality disorder at all. I think she's becoming energy sensitive. Our nervous systems are changing too, because that's like the wiring in the body. This is where we receive these electrical impulses. And a good thing to remember as you go through the shift, I recommend a lot of people take vitamin B, because it helps support your nervous system, and magnesium. Magnesium is so important for your metabolism. Everything's changing. Even our bodily organs are starting to recode to this new frequency. Sometimes people are finding they wake up in the middle of the night. Like a lot of people are waking up around 2, 3 in the morning. I hear this from a lot of people, and they're like, why that time? Why are we waking up at that time? Because in Oriental medicine, they know each organ of your body has a vibration. That's the time for the liver to recalibrate itself. Each organ has its own time. And as it's changing frequency, sometimes you're pulling in more energy, or you're processing energy or releasing energy. It may jolt you awake. And that'll go on until that organ is recalibrated to a new energy. Then you may find that something else will occur. That's in my book. I go through a whole list of symptoms, the time of day that usually happens, how to deal with it, not to get freaked out. But I certainly wouldn't say she has a personality disorder. I think she's opening up. I think she's opening up psychically.
Well, yeah, she just put in the Skype. She has, yes, I taste, smell, feel, and hear, and see energy.
Yeah, she's opening up, and I think that it's great that she's aware. And sometimes, when you go through these things, you're even led to find programs like yours, so people can understand there are the stages of ascension, or transformation, whatever you want to call it. We're evolving. We are not going to stay the same. You don't see Neanderthals walking around anymore. We're in a state of evolution, but it's more on a conscious level. Now our consciousness is ready to, evolve and really start to help us, integrate ourselves better into the fifth dimension.
Well, while we're talking about people opening up in that, and the difference between mental disorders and spiritual awakening, I want to mention to everybody that on September 15th, I'm going to have Seth Farber here, and he has a book out called The Gift of Spiritual Madness, and he's a psychologist, and he's been on my show once before, and we were discussing this subject, but we ran out of time. Plus, I hadn't had a chance to read his book at that time, which now I have. Actually, I haven't finished it, but I will have it in time, and my list of questions is ready. But if y'all want to learn more about this here, differences between the two, I think he'd be a good person to hear. And in addition to that, thanks to Jen, who was asking me the questions in Skype, I also have another one coming up further down the road in October on the exact same subject. Well, I don't see it now, but I know I put it in here. I just can't see where I put it in here. And that's probably because, Am I Bipolar or Waking Up with Sean Blackwell. Now, he's not a psychologist like Seth, but I think he's an experiencer, and it'd be a chance to hear it from a psychologist and somebody that, works with it, and as well as somebody who's actually been down the path at the same time. And I do apologize, Lisa, for putting those two plugs in for other people there.
No, you know what? Because I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was even going to say that there's a book out. I saw it too, and I want to read that book because I want to read it because I want to see what other people are experiencing too. Because I'm totally in agreement with that book. We're not crazy. We're opening up.
Okay, now Jennifer is asking, should she take her meds or not? And I'm pretty sure you would probably agree with me on this one yourself, that if she wants to go off meds, she should go to her psychiatrist and ask to be taken off a little bit at a time, not to try to drop them all at once.
I agree. Whoever put you on the meds, you need to be monitored, because when you start to put in a pharmaceutical, that's a vibration, it's a chemical. So now you have to watch and make sure that if you decide that's not for you, you want to try maybe a different healing modality or maybe some other method. Now you have to be monitored, because I would not recommend just stopping the meds cold, because, you have to check your blood levels and make sure there aren't any residual effects of just stopping the meds. But in my book, Chapter 7, I list a lot of great healing modalities, some different things you can do. I also cover what I call ascension depression, because when we start to move into this higher consciousness, things do seem different. And it's depressing because we're learning to detach. It's not about attachments anymore. It's not about defining ourselves by our house, our car, our job. We're starting to define ourselves by our energy and how we feel. And, this is a big breakthrough for a lot of us. And that quote I was looking for earlier about Jung, he said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awake. So we're at a phase right now where look inside yourself. Don't look outside. That's the illusion. The house, the car, the money. I mean, three-dimensional form, yes, it does have that. Illusion doesn't mean it's a dream. What it actually means is you're not defined by these things. You're not. Those things will pass. They're going to be old. They come and they go, but you are who you are, and your consciousness is always with you, and even in prior life experiences. It's been there with you. It holds memory. It holds charges. And people who have, let's say, repeated patterns, bad luck in relationships, always choosing the wrong relationship, there's something held in your electromagnetic field that's been with you in prior incarnations that needs to be transmuted. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It could be changed. So, it needs to be identified and transmuted into a higher vibration, and then it opens up. Start to have better relationships. This is going to be our whole new way. I really see us in the future having quantum biology, quantum medicine. We're going to deal with things that take us beyond just the material world.
Yeah, it's just a matter of science and spirituality coming together, which I think they were together some odd 6,000 years ago in ancient Egypt and Samaria. But since the days of, say, Moses, have become very separated.
Well, what it is, and I do go through that in the Book of Transformation. In one of the chapters, I explain about our true heritage, our true past. Are we a designer species? Was it because we weren't really ready to, experience our full potential? Was the time not right? But whatever it was, they needed to devise some type of separateness or some. What does separateness do? It causes confusion, right? Because you don't know what's what, who's right or who's wrong. So we've really been living in a very, very confused world for far too long. But now it's time to not do that. And also, even Plato knew that the treatment of disease, the physician really has to treat not just the body, but also the soul. Those two cannot be separated. So if you really want to successfully treat any type of physical illness, emotional illness, you need to work with both the body and the electromagnetic field, because whatever is held within that electromagnetic field, a bad vibration, eventually that energy is going to slow down enough till it's realized in the physical form as some type of an illness. And that's how come everybody uses that phrase, disease, D-I-S-E-A-S-E. It means, what are you uneasy about that has finally materialized to make you look at it? If you don't catch things when they're in that field, that energy field, you're going to have to look at it in the physical realm, and you don't want to get it to that point.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention that, because it's been my experience that a lot of people, they will do anything to run from things in that first realm you're talking about, rather than take a look at themselves. Why is this bothering me, for example, until they get backed into a corner, and then when the health goes, all of a sudden they become all too willing to be open to talk about it. And then if they do, they can get better. If they don't, they usually end up getting worse.
Yeah, and the thing that's scary sometimes, we live in a society that's looking for a quick fix, so we're going to run, and if there's a pill to make us feel better, or if there's a pill to make us lose weight or whatever, we're going to take the pill. But then when you start to hear the side effects, sometimes the original condition's better than the side effects. When you hear these advertisements, if it causes this, stop taking it. Everything is treatable if you recognize where it really has its source, and it's held within your own aura.
Right.
Some things, I've had people say, well, what about conditions like, MS or inherited conditions? How do you tell somebody that has something like that, it's held in their aura? It is a prior life experience. Something was amiss. Some of it is karma. The karma that you're carrying through with you doesn't mean it can't be handled now. A good energy worker, I know some amazing energy workers who know how to move energy within that electromagnetic field. And to people who are not familiar with this non-traditional way, they may think it's not about faith healing. This is totally different. These are actual metaphysicians that understand the body's energy field. And, when you integrate the medicine, you take the medicine for the physical body and the, medicine for the light body, and you integrate the two. That's what I mean by integrated medicine. You have a complete healing. It's not that one is better than the other. You need to incorporate both of them, because we're a physical body and we're an energy body. So as we start to blend more together, we need doctors that understand this.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that one there. I've been actually preaching that one into my kids for 20 years now. So,
yeah.
But yeah, you can't just, it's when you just try to fix the body, it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a sore. You still got an infection there, and it's just going to come back to the surface next week, the week after, in other words.
You're right.
So if you treat the infection, well, then you get rid of both, in other words, which is the idea. But see, right now, academia don't want to look at that spiritual side. They're getting to a point now where you can see scientific articles in journals that tell you that laughter is good for your health, or joy is good for your health. But right now, from what I seem to be looking at, it seems to be surface. It's not really sinking, in other words.
Well, you know what it is? They know so much. I read an article a while ago. I believe it was Nexus magazine. It may have been maybe the April-May issue 2012, where it said scientific evidence for life after death, your consciousness, what is consciousness, how do we deal with consciousness. This is it's always been here, but we're now just starting to be aware of it. But there's very little information because schools like the University of Virginia and Duke University at one time actually had departments that, were bona fide, departments for research into such things. But the problem is there is no funding for it to keep these programs alive because, you have too many people that are so right-wing. They want to say it's nonsense, it's superstition, and it's a fringe belief. So that's how come you have to really, seek out blog talk radio shows, books, or groups where, this is a hot topic because it's just not really made available to the general public.
Which I used to be with Blog Talk Radio, but I let them almost a year now. It'll be a year in October to broadcast my own stream on my own website. So that way I got more freedom.
That's right. That's better.
But Maggie's in the chat room. She was saying, but some folks identify their illness, or with their illness, and do not really want to be healed, which I know that she's telling the truth because I know people that are like that. What would you recommend with people that are like that?
Well, you know what? I've been working in this field for a very, very long time. That's what we call victim consciousness, okay? Sometimes we don't even realize it. Some things become very familiar to us. You wonder, why do people always feel depressed? That's their comfort zone. That's a familiar feeling for them because they've always been depressed. Or I know somebody who's always sick, like a hypochondriac. She doesn't want to get better. And then you have to get deeper. Like if she sat down in front of me, I'd tell her, let's see what we're looking at. Why do you stay in victim consciousness? Why do you feel you have to carry that energy with you? Then you start to identify why they're there. You start to, let's move that energy along. Then we get into, there is a need for some type of attention. How am I going to get the attention? It will be medical attention. What am I lacking in my life? You start to work with their energy. And the way you would tune in a radio station, you start to fine-tune their frequency. And the next thing you know, it will institute a healing. And I had a person write me a note. It was very beautiful, and I saved it. They said after reading my book, it almost felt like a healing because by the end of the book, they felt their vibration had totally adjusted to all the information presented. And so you can even get your healing from reading a book or from talking to someone, but it's anybody that helps you move that energy. And some people just stay stuck in that victim consciousness because it's their comfort zone. You can try to help them, but you know what? Unless somebody's really ready to shift, you can open the door, but they are the ones that have to walk through it ultimately. Their free will. Right.
Now, earlier, Jennifer asked me in the Skype, and I meant to ask you, and I got to talk about other things and forgot to, so I'm going to go back to it now. Are the Bermuda Triangles chakras?
The Bermuda Triangle, they may be known as what a lesser chakra. Like on your body, you have your main chakra centers that go up and down the spine, the navel, the heart chakra, the crown chakra. Then on your fingers and your hands and your feet, you have all the minor chakra centers. The Bermuda Triangle is maybe more of a minor chakra center, but it's also a place like where they say that's like a portal for dimensional shift. There's a dip there where it's so easy to cross into dimensions. I've had different people tell me who've studied the triangle that it's a place where time does not exist the way we know time. They could still be flying their airplanes through there, not realizing that they're lost. And people that have flown through that triangle notice that there is a difference in the electromagnetic energy there because the dials on their planes or on their boat GPSs will go crazy or won't register. The compasses won't work because the electromagnetic energy right there recognizes that dip and goes in.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Now, Jennifer was also asking, she says, since I've taken my meds, I know I'm not myself. However, my head is, I think she's trying to say calmer, pardon me, and my environment seems slower than normal. I think I see and understand clear. I'm more in tune with society and people on the one hand level. Now, is this because it's a society demand of this is how you must be normal, or is it just her?
Well, like I said, I believe that a large portion of the population has been, unnecessarily overdrugged. It's easier to deal with people when they're just, kind of their senses are dulled out to the point where they're just going to get through their day-to-day. They're not going to cause any trouble. There's no disruption. They can cope with the things going on around them, and, everybody else around them can cope with them. You're not making any breakthroughs. You're not a troublemaker. You're not going to say, hey, we don't have to take this anymore. It's okay, to be different. And I'm not saying, some people just can't cope. This energy coming in is so fast and so furious. It's too much too soon for some people, and it's like if you plug too many things into an outlet, you're going to pop something. So
yeah.
Some people are not grounded enough right now, and they feel like they're going to pop. So maybe this is how they cope with this energy coming in. Otherwise, they're so energy sensitive, they may really, nobody else can catch up to them, and they may feel like they're standing alone. The thing is, there's certain things you can do. I'm a big advocate of Reiki. I love Reiki. When I took Reiki a few years ago, I wasn't sure what it was, and I looked into it, and I had an amazing Reiki master. It shows you how to ground your energy. It shows you how to recognize dips and imbalances in your own energy, how to fine-tune it, how to fix it, and you stay on top of any imbalance before it becomes a problem. So if maybe the meds, maybe it's, for whatever reason, it was a temporary thing to get you through the biggest part of the shift. Maybe you feel that you're at a point now where you have a better understanding of what's going on, and you can ask your doctor to help wean you off, Now,
a lot of the material we've been talking about today, is this stuff that you go into detail inside of your book?
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I made the book. I know as we go through this shift, everybody has what I call ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder. We like things quickly now because we're in fast time.
I like the way you put that. That sounds a lot better than attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, it's ascension. We're in fast time. It's fast energy. I fashioned the book the way the stages of a rebirth almost. You have that the quickening. You start to notice little things, and you have the transition, what's going on. Then you have the crowning, and then boop, there you are. You're in this new world of a different dimension. Now, how do you cope with your open psychic senses? Why do we have them? The history behind it a little bit, where we're going with it, and eventually, this is all necessary. If we're going to be socialized in with other galactic communities, and I did say other galactic communities, they are out there. There are we see star systems. There are actually other galaxies. They have terrestrial planets, and as we move closer to the galactic center, there's clusters and clusters of these stars. And some of these stars have planets around them, and there are other civilizations out there, even though we've been told we're the only ones out there. Isn't that crazy that we think that we're at the top of the food chain? If anything, we have to upgrade so we can communicate with other beings that can shift dimensionally. Look at our technology. There had to be an intervention. We did not get from, the wheel to the car in all those years, and then from the car to look what we have now, iPads, iPhones, technology. We're putting people on the moon. We have a rover on Mars. We had an intervention. We did not have that big jump naturally. So we have to be open to, like, who's helping us? Who's helping us get through this birth canal into a better place?
Right. Now, real quick, like, before we go any further, because I've only mentioned your link once, you want to learn a little bit more about her and her book and that, you can go to www.lisabbarretta.com/Lisa_dot.com/home.html, and she has a web page there. It gives you more information. Also, for anybody wishing to call in, it's 832-632-7904, and we'd love to hear from you. And Lisa, I was going to mention that we got like 15 minutes left in today's show, and see if there's anything that you'd like to cover that I haven't brought out yet.
Well, there's so many things that are going on with this shift, and the first thing I want to do is make everyone aware that, right now we're having these big bursts of energy. The photon belt, which was like our little protective bubble, you might say, that's holding all this highly charged energy. The solar wind is carrying. They actually have in the book too, when there's an increase, the solar wind. Actually there's been an increase in solubilities when there's been a lot of solar wind that kicks off. So some people who may feel like, hey, I knew that answer, I knew you were going to say that, or synchronicities, you're reacting to the newly highly charged particles coming at us. And when you're aware, it's great. You start to look for it because you want to link in. This is knowledge is power, and, the more you know, the better off you are, because fear is the acronym for false emotions appearing real. So if you're afraid of not having enough money, you're afraid of 2012 being a destruction, you're going to paralyze yourself, and you're going to wind up creating scenarios. That's one thing I want to talk about too, our ability to create right now. We think something. A thought is energy. You put it out there. Now, like I said, we're in this highly charged area right now, all these highly charged particles. We're at this point within our galaxy where we put something out. It's immediately intercepted by, a faster frequency, and it's delivered instantaneously. It's like an email compared to snail mail, where you mail a letter and you wait for days for someone to get it. So right now, that's what everybody's saying, that live consciously. There are a lot of books and movies out there about living consciously, because what you think, you create. If you start thinking you're not going to have money, or thinking the worst, you start to create it. So, our evolution is giving us the power to have more say in our created reality, and that's how come living consciously means you're aware, and you don't want to get in a lower vibration. And like I said, it's not about separateness and not liking this person or that person. It's about recognizing somebody's diversity and helping create a better planet for everybody, because, this is our home. This is where we are. And, the thing is going to keep the planet healthy, the consciousness of the world. There's always going to be some type of war or upheaval. That's a natural way of natural selection also. But we don't want to have that just be what this planet is about. We want it to be more peaceful and a better place for everybody.
Well, I would definitely agree with that, but it doesn't appear to be happening in the very near future, but it would be nice if it did. Now, I was going to say also to share with everybody some of the other places they can reach you. I know you got an email link on your website, and I know you've mentioned Facebook. What do they go to? Facebook /Lisa Barretta, or just put Lisa Barretta in the search engine?
Well, if you'd like to go on Facebook, if you're a Facebook user, I have a book called, a Facebook page. It's called The Book of Transformation, and I really do invite everyone to join that. I usually try to post a monthly blog about something to do, either about, transformation, what we're going through, or some helpful information about aromatherapy, stones, just how to cope with energy, anything, even about how to get, a lot of people like to get psychic input or intuitive readings, astrological guidance. I find more people are starting to, appreciate that type of information too, and not see it as some type of party trick. I also have a Facebook fan page for my first book, The Street Smart Psychic's Guide to Getting a Good Reading. You can find me there, and also, my website, www.lisabarretta.com.
Well,
and those books are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
I apologize. I didn't mean to step on you.
Okay.
But I was going to say, why don't you tell them a little something about what the book, the Street Smart Psychic is all about?
My first book, The Street Smart Psychic's Guide to Getting a Good Reading, which came out November of 2009, that's when I noticed a big influx of people looking for psychic insight, astrological readings, and they didn't want the usual, tell me news of a birth, news of a death, or a trip by water. They want to know what's going on. And the Street Smart Psychic's Guide to Getting a Good Reading really clues the person getting a reading in what it's all about. You're going to somebody who, the way you sit in front of a doctor and a doctor takes your medical history and sees what do you do for your physical body, a reader, whether you want to call them a psychic, an intuitive, an astrologer, or an energy reader, when they're sitting with you or tuning into your energy, they're recognizing the imbalances, what needs to be taken care of. When they tell you it looks like, blah, 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 you're going to get a new job opportunity within 3 months, it's because they're actually tuning into something that you, on some level, have already created for yourself. And the book is a great guide for anybody who wants to know how to really get a reading and walk away and feel like, wow, this helped me so much. It's like the GPS right now. It's the new GPS for your consciousness. It's to let people know when you go for a reading and a reader or psychic astrologer says it looks like you could move in 3 months, but they're telling you that energy's out there, how to avoid the pitfalls, how to help it come about, and how to look for clues to make all this happen in a very nice, easy way for you. It goes beyond just will he call, will she call. That's not what a reading's all about. That's the entertainment. A real reading really helps you plot the course of your life here, and also taps into your prior lives and tells you why you're here and what basically your whole purpose is all about. And once you get clear on that, it's great. It's like finding out your true roots, your heritage, your celestial heritage.
Okay. Now, real quick, do you happen to have your own blog talk show or no?
No, I don't. Right now, I've just been fortunate enough to be invited on everybody else's show. Which I don't mind doing. I like doing that. I like it. It keeps it moving.
Well, yeah, it keeps it moving, and actually it's been my finding over the last 6 years that you get some of the most interesting conversation with some of the most interesting people.
Yeah, I listen to different shows all the time when I'm not a guest. In between doing consultations, I like to tune in because I myself, I want to know how everybody else is experiencing this shift.
Well, it's interesting you should mention that because I was going to get around to suggesting after what you said about the medical end of the psychological end of it and the, medication and that you might want to attend the show with Seth Barber on the 15th, which is next Saturday at 1, because there might be some things come on that show that might be of interest to you.
I think, yeah, you're sending out reminders, I hope, right?
Yes, I will. In fact, I'll make sure that if I don't have you friended at Facebook already, that I do get you friended so I can send you a reminder.
Yeah, I would love to hear that show. I'd love to.
Yeah, maybe you can call in and ask some questions.
No, I will.
All right, that sounds fantastic to me. Well, listen, we got 6 minutes remaining. I was going to ask you if you had any last-minute thoughts.
Just if anybody else is in the chat room, if they have any questions or if they would want any advice on how to deal with the shift, what to do, I'd be happy to answer their questions. I really would like everyone to pick up a copy of the book because it really is. It's a quick read. It's packed with a lot of the information that you need, and it's pretty straightforward. I cut to the chase and put it right out there.
So you don't mince any words about what you're saying. Just make sure that it's as clear as it can be.
That's right. And I've had some people say, well, where's the scientific background is like, we're not dealing with science. Science has a formula, and every time you put out that formula, you get the same answer, right? So what do they say? A sign of insanity is when you keep on doing the same thing over again and keep on getting the same results. We're in a higher energy where there's all possibilities. You know, anything is possible right now, and that's how come it's important for everyone to stay on track. Be conscious of what's going on, because you know, this is a very creative time. And we're opening up to a whole different environment, an environment of energy, you know, where we're very sensitive to it, and, you know, how, you know, we are one and the same with this energy. We're not different. It's just that the physical body takes on the form of whatever's already coded into the energy matrix around us. And I would also like to tell people, too, who are listening in, I was also a producer on a documentary called Surviving Death, a Paranormal Debate, which is very interesting because what is consciousness? You know, do we really understand, you know, what consciousness is and how it does live on after physical death? That also helps, and to give like a broader perspective on what it is we're talking about here, the part of us that is really, you know, coming to light during this evolutionary period for us. And there's a Facebook page for that, too, also called Surviving Death, a Paranormal Debate, and I invite everyone to go to that page and join, because there's updates on the documentary, and, you know, it's in different film festivals where and when you can see it, and I think that's very helpful, too. A lot of people think ghosts are just meant for Halloween, and we think ghosts are scary. You know, what is a ghost? It answers that question. What is a ghost? You know,
okay.
Is it residual energy just left over? You know, you can walk into a room and feel the ghost of an argument. If someone's had an argument, you can feel that heavy energy even though you weren't present for it. Or is it an intelligent energy that's left behind?
Right.
That doesn't want to move on. So, you know, that's what this documentary is about. And, you know, I just think it's great that there are so many young filmmakers out there. There are the indigos, I guess, the crystals, and even some baby boomers who understand that we are moving beyond just the physical world to start to explore the different realms, and it's great. I think it opens itself up to a lot of new subjects and a lot of interesting questions and people to meet.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with you. Now, real quick, like Maggie was asking, how can you deal with those who cannot admit there is a shift?
Well, some people, they're not at that frequency yet, and they're the ones you may feel like you want to move away from those people as you start to open up, because it's frustrating to be around them because they're not at the same level as you. It's as if you're a senior in high school hanging around with a first grader. It doesn't mean you have to dislike them. It's just like, okay, you're not there yet, you're not ready for it, but don't let them discourage you from staying on your path or have you question your own beliefs about what's going on. You just stay the course and continue to evolve. Eventually they're going to catch up. You know, like years ago, just certain people had computers. Now everybody has one. So eventually they'll catch up.
They always do, right?
Yep, they do.
Okay, well, I got to tell you, Lisa, I've enjoyed this last hour with you, and, you know, a lot of times I'll go in for 2 hours, but we didn't discuss it prior, and I didn't make allotments for it on my end, which I really should have discussed with you prior. I would like to have you come back in the future, especially if you get any new books out, but even if you don't, and talk about this more in depth. You mind if I hold on to your information, and if I get a chance, I can send you an invite?
That sounds great. I'd love to be back on, and thanks for having me, and thank everyone who listened in.
Okay, doke. Well, I'm going to let you get back to your weekend, and everybody, y'all stay tuned here for just a minute, and I'm going to, real quick, like before I shut down, give y'all some reminders about some friends of mine's radio stations and other friends I have, and then we'll just move on off the air over the next couple of minutes. Thank you very much, Maggie. We'll talk at you later. Lisa. I think she's already disconnected. Okay, everyone. Real quick, don't forget to visit my friends over at World UFO Today. Also, I want to make everybody aware that I'm going to have several shows this week. I'm still catching up when my voice was gone. So this Tuesday, I'm going to have, which is a regular show, let's see here, get to the guy's name. The book is called Financial Sorcery. The author is Jason Miller. And then Wednesday, which is not a regular show, can y'all give me just a quick moment? Thank you, and I apologize for that. I plan to have James O'Con, and we're going to be talking about ancient Maya technology, and he got a very fascinating book out about this, by the way. And then we're going to have Neil Kramer Thursday at 8 p.m. Actually, James O'Con, I think, was also at 8 p.m. Let me go back and double-check that. Yeah. That's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. And Thursday is going to be the unfoldment with Neil Kramer. And I had him scheduled prior, and he had got hung up out in Portland and didn't get home in time to answer his phone and conduct the show. And then this Saturday we're going to have Seth Farber. So we're going to have 3 more shows between now and Saturday. I'd love to see everybody there. And also, real quick, don't forget, on the left-hand side, under the main menu at the very top of the left, you'll see a bunch of links there. If you go down under Other, you'll see Friends. If you click on that, there's a link to UnitedParanormalInternational.com. I really recommend you pay them a visit. And there's also a link to Supernatural UFO, and that's a great forum board if you want to be a member of it. And then underneath Friends, you'll see advertising, and underneath that, you'll see Radio Favorites. If you'll click on Radio Favorites, you'll see links to UKPN Radio with Gary Brown, JimHarold.com with Jim Harold, of course, The Gradian Report and Micah Hanks. All 3 of those have been on my show. They're fantastic hosts. And then there's Ohio Exopolitics Radio with Mark Snyder. He hasn't been on my show yet, but I have heard his show. I think you'd enjoy any of those shows. So please stop by, give them a listen. And I'm going to let it go at that. I've got some tacos to go make, folks. So I want to thank y'all for coming. I couldn't have a show without my listeners any more than I could without my guests. So, thank you very much. Please remember to recommend my show to your friends. Let them know that membership to the site's free and that it gets them into the chat room. Let them know that we love to have people come in and chat. Love to have them call in and ask the guest questions or ask them questions in chat. And we'll hope to see you again this coming Tuesday. And I'm going to call that one a wrap. Thank you very much.
So on a more personal level, our own electromagnetic field, our own personal environment is also shifting and changing. The poles are shifting. We're becoming more spiritual and less like organized religious. We're becoming more about energy instead of the material world. And we're starting to realize that, hey, if you live consciously, the world is a much better place. Life gets easier, not harder. And, at any time there can be a destruction. You don't have to wait for 2012. I had 2 children over in Japan during that 9-point whatever earthquake. So, like I said, at any time things can change. But when you live consciously, you stay in the moment, you're aware, you get through these things, and you find out there's a reason for it. And I think the overall change in consciousness right now is for people to stop being so separate-minded, thinking of things as either good or bad, or this religion or that religion, or past and future. We need to just be in the now moment. There's a diversity, and it's okay to be diverse but not separate. And that's the whole raising of the consciousness coming in for 2012, a more unified consciousness, because that will change the vibration of the planet, and we really will be able to realize our full potential. We're all psychic. Even people who think that's nonsense or that's crazy, we're all psychic. It's just that now's the time that we're at that point in our evolution where we can start to experience it, because the time is right. December 21st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. Is there going to be some type of mass destruction? Is it the end of the world? And there's just so much controversy. You didn't know what to believe, and it was frightening to a lot of people. So I thought, well, we are changing, and it's a fact. Earth is not in the same exact place it was in even 100 years ago. We're moving throughout the Milky Way galaxy. Our sun is changing, as a lot of people probably already know. There were a lot of solar storms this past summer, and we think it's just playing havoc with, our satellite systems and our communications here on Earth. But on a larger scale, it's interacting with our own electromagnetic field. We all have that electromagnetic field around us, even though we can't see it, it's there. But I wrote the book is because as we shift into this new energy, we are becoming more aware that we are more than just a physical body, that we do have this energy body around us, which basically it's the driving force behind us. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be here. So I felt there was really a need to write a book. I wanted to make it simple. I didn't want to have a lot of esoteric mumbo-jumbo in there that was way over just the average reader's head. What it is, it's a handbook, it's a guide for anybody who's wondering, like, what's going on? Why do I feel different? Why is my intuition heightened? How come I'm dissatisfied with the job that I used to love or the relationship I was in? Everything's changing, the energy's changing, we're shifting. We're in the next phase of our evolution, going from Homo sapien, the logical man, to Homo sentient, the conscious man. We're living consciously. We're aware that we're more than just a body, we're a frequency. And how do you adapt? Nobody taught us this in high school. What's going on? The traditional news shows don't want to tell you about this, so you need some type of a guide, and I really wanted this book to help people understand just the changing energy around them.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense. And, I've had a lot of different speakers on my show that has spoke about 2012, and even they can't agree, to be honest with you. One of them would tell you that it's going to be a pole shift and you can expect all kinds of calamity. Another one will come on and say, well, pole shift or no pole shift, we're going to have a consciousness raising, and who knows, maybe it's going to be a little bit of both, kind of like a potpourri. But yeah, I think a lot of people are doing a lot of guesswork.
Well, I agree with you, and the thing is, the Earth has actually had pole shifts before in the past, and there's no doubt about it. The magnetic north is changing. The North Star we have now was not always the North Star that the ancients recognized as their North Star. So the poles are shifting. Earth is always in a state of, regenerating herself. As we could see, there's just been a recent rash of earthquakes. I think the most recent two within the past few days. One was in Costa Rica, another one in China. So, Earth has gone through its own little transition also, and it's in response to this stronger energy coming in. It's, disrupting things a little. But as with any birth, you have to go through that transition phase.
Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio, where truth equals reality, and truth is often stranger than fiction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, and joining me today is Lisa Barretta, and she's going to be talking about her newest book, Transformation, and we're going to probably talk about a few other things as well, but she wanted you people to know about that and give you kind of an idea of what she's got in there that, you're going to enjoy reading about, in other words. You can learn more about her at www.lisabbarretta_Lisa_dot.com/home.html. And can you people give me just one quick second? I'm sorry, folks. I had a little slight thing happen there for a brief instant. I wanted to take care of it. At any rate, also for those of you that are listening at Shoutcast, or even if you're at the site, remind y'all the call-in numbers, 832-632-7904. If I don't get to you right away, just kind of hang in there. I'm probably looking for a break in the conversation rather than, interrupting the speaker to answer the phone, but sometimes I do end up interrupting the speaker or just answering and not saying anything till the speaker, has a break. But you go ahead and call in, and if I do answer and you hear noise in the background, just wait for a minute and I'll let you know when it's time to, go on the air live. Also, anybody that's listening at Shoutcast or YouTube or one of the other places where I got an archive, you want to come and listen to the show live, it's www.paranormalpalace.com. Be glad to have you. The membership to the site's free. It gets you into the chat room and the link section and download section and forums and all of that good stuff. So, Lisa, how are you doing today?
Hi, how you doing? And thanks so much for having me on the show. I was looking forward to it.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, and I've been looking forward to this for quite some time myself. And I was glad that I was able to reach you today because I had kind of got the ball dropped on my end, so you were really a lifesaver to me today. But I wanted to, I haven't had a chance to read your book. Matter of fact, I haven't got it yet. So I'm going to kind of be feeling my way through this with you as we go. I wanted to, I guess, start off by breaking the ice, kind of telling everybody, how you got involved in this here particular book, for example.
Well, the thing that really spurred me on is, lately, I would say over the past few years, so many people have been concerned about